My name is mine. My voice is loud, my shoes are fast, and my skin is brown like chocolate. I used to think that was cool. Like superheroes. Like tree trunks. Like the night sky when the stars come out. Mama says my skin is strong. She says it's history. She says it's love. She says it's mine. I like that. Chapter 1. My skin is brown like chocolate. School started, and some kids looked at me funny, not like you're funny, but like you're different. One boy said, "Why are you so dark?" I didn't know what to say. Another said, "You look dirty." I looked at my hands. They weren't dirty, just brown. But I started to wonder. I looked at the other kids. Some had peach skin. Some had pink cheeks. Some had golden arms. They didn't get called dirty. They didn't get asked why. I did. I went home. I looked in the mirror. I touched my face. I rubbed my arm. I whispered, "Is something wrong with me?" I didn't tell Mama. I didn't tell anyone. I just kept wondering and wishing and feeling small. Chapter 2. I tried scrubbing it off. I went to the bathroom. I locked the door. I stood on the stool. I looked in the mirror. My skin was still brown. Still chocolate. Still mine. But I didn't want it to be. I took Mama's sponge, the rough one. I put soap on it, the kind that smells like lemons. I scrubbed my arms, hard, until they turned red. I scrubbed my face, my cheeks stung, my nose felt hot. I thought maybe, if I scrubbed enough, I'd be peach, or golden, or clean. I looked again. Still brown. Still me. I cried a little. Not loud. Just the kind that drips without sound. I didn't tell Mama. I didn't tell anyone. I just put the sponge back. And wore long sleeves, even though it was hot. At school, I didn't talk much. I didn't raise my hand. I didn't play tag. I just looked at the other kids and wondered how they got their skin and why mine felt like a mistake. One girl said, "Why are your elbows so red?" I said, "I fell." But I didn't. I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. Trying to erase something that was never wrong. Chapter 3. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell Mama. I didn't tell Papa. I didn't tell my teacher. I didn't tell my Teddy. I just kept it inside, like a secret, like a heavy backpack, like a stone in my pocket. I thought maybe it was my fault. Maybe I was too brown. Maybe I was supposed to be lighter. Maybe I was the mistake. So I stayed quiet. At school, I smiled less. I laughed less. I played less. I sat in the corner. I colored with gray. I didn't pick the brown crayon anymore. I used yellow and peach and pink. Even when I was drawing me, I didn't want anyone to know that I didn't like my skin, that I was trying to change it, that I felt wrong, because maybe they'd say, "Yeah, you are." And that would hurt more. Mama asked, "Why are you so quiet lately?" I said, "I'm just tired." But I wasn't tired. I was sad and scared and confused. I didn't cry loud. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I just folded into myself, like a paper airplane that forgot how to fly. And I waited for someone to notice. Chapter 4. Mama saw my elbows. I was getting ready for bed. Mama said, "Take off your shirt, baby." I said, I'm not cold." She said, "It's warm tonight." I said, "I like sleeves." But she saw anyway. She looked at my elbows. They were red, not like scraped, not like bruised, just rubbed, raw, quietly hurting. She touched them, soft, like feathers. She said, "What happened here?" I looked down. I said, "I fell." She didn't believe me, not in a mean way, just in a mama way. She sat on the bed. She pulled me close. She said, "Tell me the truth." I whispered, "I scrubbed." She said, "Why?" I said, because I wanted to be clean." Her eyes changed, like clouds before rain. She said, "You are clean." I said, "They said I was dirty." She didn't speak for a moment. She just held me, tight, like she was trying to hold all my broken pieces together. She said, "Your skin is beautiful." I said, "But it's dark." She said, "That's why it's beautiful." I didn't understand. Not yet. But I wanted to. She kissed my forehead. She wrapped me in my blanket. She said, "Tomorrow, I'll tell you a secret." I said, "Is it about my skin?" She said, "It's about your power." I didn't know I had power, but I wanted to believe her. So I closed my eyes and dreamed of being strong and brown and proud. Chapter 5. She told me a secret. Mama sat with me the next morning. She had cocoa in her cup. I had milk with a swirl. The sun was soft. The room was quiet. She said, "Ready for the secret?" I nodded. She said, "Your skin is a story." I said, "A story?" She said, "Yes, a long, strong, beautiful story." She told me about kings, real ones, with crowns and drums and gold. She said, they had skin like yours, brown, bold, bright. She told me about dancers, who moved like wind, who sang with their feet, who wore colors that made the sky jealous. She said, they had skin like yours. She told me about fighters, not the punching kind, the brave kind, the ones who stood tall when the world tried to bend them. She said, they had skin like yours. I listened. I sipped my milk. I felt something growing inside me, not shame, not sadness, something warm, something proud. She said, your skin is not a mistake. It's a gift. It's a flag. It's a poem. I said, but they called me dirty. She said, that's because they don't know your story. I said, I tried to scrub it off. She said, never again. She kissed my cheek. She held my hand. She said, say it with me. My skin is beautiful. I whispered, my skin is beautiful. She said, louder. I said, my skin is beautiful. She smiled, and I felt like a king. Chapter 6. I looked in the mirror again. Mama said I was a king. She said my skin was a crown. She said my color was a story. So I went to the mirror. Not to scrub, not to hide, just to look. I saw my face, my nose, my cheeks, my brown. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel wrong. I felt curious. I touched my arm. It was soft. It was warm. It was mine. I said, hi, skin. And it didn't feel silly. It felt like meeting a friend I forgot I had. I smiled. Not the pretend kind, the real kind, the kind that starts in your chest and climbs to your eyes. I said, you're not dirty. You're not wrong. You're not less. I said, you're me. I picked up the brown crayon. I drew a boy, with curly hair, with bright eyes, with chocolate skin. I showed Mama. She said, that's you. I said, I know. I didn't wear long sleeves that day, even though it was cloudy, even though I was nervous. I let my elbows show. I let my skin breathe. I let myself be seen, and it felt like flying. Chapter 7. I started telling people. I used to be quiet, about my skin, about the names, about the sponge, but now I talk. Not loud like shouting, just strong like truth. I told my teacher, I said, some kids called me dirty. She looked sad. She said, that's not okay. She gave me a book. It had a boy like me on the cover. I liked that. I told my cousin, he's brown too. He said, me too. We high-fived and drew superheroes with chocolate skin. We gave them capes and crowns and stories. I told the boy who teased me, I said, my skin is beautiful. He didn't say anything, but he didn't tease me again. I think maybe he didn't know. Now he does. I told the mirror. Every morning, before school, before breakfast, I say, you're strong, you're smart, you're beautiful. And the mirror says it back, in my smile, in my eyes, in my heart. I told Mama, I want to help other kids. She said, you already are. So now, I speak, I share, I shine. Because my skin isn't a secret, it's a story. And I'm proud to tell it. Chapter 8. I was wrong about me. I used to think my skin was wrong. Too dark, too different, too much. But now I know. I was wrong. My skin is strong. My skin is proud. My skin is mine, and I love it. I don't scrub anymore. I don't hide. I don't wish to be someone else. I wear short sleeves. I draw brown superheroes. I smile at the mirror, because I see me. And I like what I see. I still remember the kids who teased me. I don't hate them. I just hope they learn, like I did. I hope they see beauty in every shade, in every story, in every face. Sometimes I feel sad that I ever felt small, that I ever tried to change. But Mama says, sadness means you're growing. And I think she's right. Because now, I feel bigger, not taller, just braver. This was my story, my biggest regret, my quiet pain, my loud healing. But now I want to hear yours. Have you ever felt wrong for something that makes you you? Your skin, your voice, your name?
Tell me in the comments. I'll read it. I'll listen. I'll learn.
Because this isn't just my story, it's ours. We're asking people from age 1 to 100, what's your biggest regret? Today was age 5. Next time, it'll be age 6. And every story brings us closer, to each other, to ourselves. So click subscribe, press like, share this video with someone who needs to hear, you are not wrong, you are wonderful. And remember, even tiny voices can say something big. Bye-bye for now.